Hello, my name is Lorraine Appleyard, and I am a psychic and a spiritual medium. And I'm also a spiritual teacher. And won't you join me today in this discussion on near-death experiences? A near-death experience, or an NDE, is what is considered to be a very profound and personal experience that is associated with death or with the impending death of an individual. NDEs are experienced when the body is injured by trauma or is experiencing a heart attack or asphyxia, which is a lack of oxygen, or a physical shock. It's estimated that in about 1 of 10 patients with cardiac arrest in a hospital setting actually experiences such an episode. There are, in fact, thousands of stories from survivors that tell their story of leaving their physical bodies behind and experiencing a realm that is beyond our everyday experience. And this realm, this experience that people have with NDEs, they experience this phenomena that appears to be beyond the boundaries of space and time as we know it. And NDEs, or near-death experiences, are really very powerful. And they're mystical experiences. And these experiences lead to permanent changes or transformation of the individual's life. NDEs are more than just an act of imagination. The significance with a near-death experience from those that have survived one is that they have a lot of common aspects. And these aspects are the phenomenon of becoming pain-free. Most people report seeing a bright light at the end of the tunnel or some other kind of phenomenon. A good many people that experience an NDP actually report the awareness of detaching from the physical body or having the awareness of floating above it, or maybe even flying off into space. It's similar to an out-of-body experience. Many people that experience NDEs make reports about seeing loved ones that have previously passed away, or of spiritual beings like angels, or even other ascended masters like Jesus. Most individuals that experience this actually talk about having a review of their lifetime, of having their life flash before their eyes. And there is this common experience of a distorted sense of time and space, because time and space only exists here in the physical plane. And moving outside of this realm of the physical plane, the sense of time becomes distorted. Although sometimes near-death experiences may actually have a negative experience, most individuals that experience NDEs actually speak about this sense of this overwhelming feeling of love, or this overwhelming divine presence, something that goes beyond what they have experienced here in the physical plane. And it can sometimes be difficult to put into words, to explain it. What makes a near-death experience unique is that, for the most part, as people, when we have an experience, that the memory of that fades in time. And with the NDE, the individuals that experience these phenomena, the recollection of it appears just as vivid as when they first had that experience. NDEs are recalled with this great intensity and with this lucidity that remains over many decades sometimes. In a study in 2017 by two researchers at the University of Virginia, they were studying the enhanced sense of cognition that occurs with someone having an NDE, which appears to be very much of a paradox when you consider that there would be a compromised functioning of the brain during this period of time. But yet these experiences are recalled decades later with great intensity. And when asked to compare memories of their experiences that have been both real and from imagined events from the same time, the study showed that the near-death experiences are recalled with a greater sense of detail and vividness than any other real or imagined situation were recalled. So NDEs are actually being remembered as more real than real. There has been more attention with NDEs over the last part of the 20th century from both physicians and psychologists. And the reason being is because there has been enough of information regarding near-death experiences that people have been able to notice patterns in what people would share about their near-death stories. And whereas not every near-death story will have all of the same components, there appears to be enough significance in the patterns that one cannot dismiss it as pure imagination or confabulation. It's not just some kind of hallucination or a misfiring of the brain, which is commonly how it is attributed to. The misfiring of the brain activities making this phenomenon be experienced. And it's important to be aware that NDEs, near-death experiences, have been with us throughout all of history and throughout all cultures, and is experienced in all people that are both young and old, and those that have been previously devout or skeptical. So it really is a phenomenon that has transcended all barriers and has these very many common aspects to it. And so although the medical community may want to use medical jargon to be able to explain the phenomena of a near-death experience, when we consider that the person having the experience is compromised physically and that they are typically unconscious or in a coma or clinically dead, it would be logical that it should not be possible for unconscious people to have this highly lucid experience that is clear and logical and structured. In fact, those that were interviewed with NDEs will commonly report that their experiences were in fact more clear and more aware than what they would commonly have with their regular day awareness. And what's really very interesting is that in another large study of near-death experiences, is that there's the observation of being out of the body and the recollection of being able to describe great details of their own resuscitation. And it's because of this high percentage of the out-of-body observations that occur during a near-death experience, it seems that it's not possible to just explain away with physical brain function. That there actually is an experience that is being had of an altered state or a different state of consciousness. Some other evidence that has been arrived at during studies is that of individuals that have had general anesthesia during surgery and experienced a physical passing or a very close to physical passing. And what's interesting is that these individuals under general anesthesia are able to recall the events of their resuscitation or of going into a light and having this phenomenon. But there is substantial evidence that an individual under general anesthesia should not be able to produce memories that are lucid. And other evidences explore near-death experiences and the phenomena of having a life review. Those that experienced a life review typically described it from a perspective of a third person and having an awareness of what others were feeling and thinking at other times earlier in their life when they interacted with them. And this awareness was previously unknown to them, and they would have not have had an awareness of what people were thinking or feeling when they interacted with them. And it's often surprising or an unexpected aspect of a near-death experience to have this third-person perspective during a life review. What's also been researched is the near-death experiences of young children. And what's interesting when interviewing young children that have had a near-death experience is that because of their young age, it is less likely that they have firm religious beliefs or cultural understandings about death, or even an awareness of what death is at all. Children that are very young would have not been likely to have even heard about what a near-death experience is or understand it. And yet, in the research, it showed that children 5 and younger, out of a group of 613 individuals that had an experience while under general anesthesia, is that the content of their experience appeared to have the same content as those in older children and adults that also experience NDEs. So there is this thread of commonality throughout individuals that have experienced this phenomena of a near-death experience. And what also appears to be very striking is that those individuals that have had near-death experiences report significant changes in their lives, and these changes are commonly observed in those that are around them. And they report that these changes have continued on from their near-death experience. And most of these experiences relate to having more patience, having a greater sense of awareness, having a greater sense of love, and an increased ability of intuition. Near-death experiences have always fascinated me. On a personal note, I have been working to understand the soul and human consciousness for many decades. And so near-death experiences are something that were part of my exploring consciousness and life and death. And so please listen to the interview that I will be posting with Mr. Fred Walker, who was clinically deceased for almost 20 minutes, and he shares his near-death experience with me in my interview. If you have had a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience, and you have a story that you would like to be able to share with me, please do reach out to me at soullightsobright@gmail.com. That again is soullightsobright@gmail.com. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this discussion on near-death experiences, and I thank you very much for listening. Please do hit the like button, and please do remember to subscribe to stay up to date with any new meditations, tutorials, or other interviews and spiritual discussions that I may be having. I thank you once again, and my name is Lorraine Alpiard. I wish you very many blessings, and may you walk with spirit. Bye for now.